Hi everyone. Okay, so this video is not going to be what I initially planned for yesterday. I said that horribly, but it's not going to be what I initially planned because I'm really not as prepared as I thought I was going to be. I thought I'd have a lot more time tonight to prepare what I was going to say and present today. Um, but that didn't happen. Instead, I went out for coffee with a friend and then came home and talked on the phone for the last couple of hours, which was really nice. Anyways, long story short, um, I'm going to talk about a few key points from that meeting and and a few other things that happened tonight. Uh, so as I mentioned, I met with a friend. I hadn't seen this friend since before Toronto, and it was really nice to meet and catch up. Uh, we talked about quite a few things, as I mentioned, just catching up. But one of the things that we talked about was the church, and I mean it. It was just natural that that would come up because that's where he and I met, um, and we have a lot of mutual uh, connections because we know similar people, right? Um, I think he knows them a lot better because he grew up with them, being from Kenora and everything. But it was still nice to find out how they were doing uh, and hear about what had been going on. Uh, I'm bringing this up because you know after after the meeting, uh, I dropped them off at the church because apparently there was a service going on there on Wednesdays. And it used to be where I was really involved in the church. And when everything happened with the college, I totally stepped away. I was extremely hurt, extremely angry. I I didn't feel it was fair what was happening, and if what if the work that I was doing was so valuable, so good, helping other people, then why is the whole thing with the college happening? It and if there is a God out there, why would he allow that when I've been trying to essentially do good and like it 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 doesn't make any sense. Um but the other part is when the whole thing was when there were various times when I was going through all the things with the college that I reached out for support. I reached out for help for various different things. Like, I had hoped some of my previous clients would step forward and, call the college and say, she's doing good and she's helping us. And, that didn't happen. And I also reached out to a fellow um, congregation member, actually a couple of them, and asked them to call like the local MPP's office and try to get them to him to talk to me and stuff. And by that, we're talking about Greg Rickford, right? And I'm just going to touch on this. I'm not going to go into depth like I had been planning to. Probably not till tomorrow, the next day. And um, but that didn't happen either. And the response I got from one of the ladies, and this lady used to work with him, was that she would pray on it. And I thought, it don't get me wrong, praying is important if you're religious, but there's only so much prayer can do when you have the means and you choose not to utilize them. I mean, prayer is good when you're asking for something, if you're um or being thankful, or you know trying to get guidance or something. But when you have the means to do something and you choose not to, that isn't the time to be praying. Like, it's like, if you're going to make a meal for your family, are you going, and you know that they need to eat, are you going to pray and say, um God, make this appear? Like, no, you get off your ass and you go make the meal. You don't sit there and pray. You might pray like before, being thankful or whatever, but you know you have the means. You know you have the skill set to do that, so you just go do it. And that is what didn't happen, and it's partially why I walked away from the church, because I don't feel I didn't I had spent so much time there, and I I was pretty well there every Sunday. Um I was actively involved in helping with whatever they needed. I was going to Bible study, which I even when I was in living in Portage, going to the church every Sunday, and in Winnipeg, I rarely ever went to Bible study. Um Now that's not to say I didn't learn what was in the Bible. It just I wasn't as I wasn't as present as I was out here. But um no, present isn't the right word. It just I there's only so much you can do with your time, right? And I suppose out here I had more time to actually go to the Bible study and everything. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. Point being is that um point being is I had spent so much time, so much energy being involved. And when I needed these individuals to help me, they weren't there. And that really hurt. And it wasn't just something small. I mean, we're talking about my career, right? My livelihood, my finances, my standard of living. And they couldn't be bothered. And so I decided that if they didn't want to be bothered, then I didn't want to be part of that group. And um and I walked away, and a little while later I I get this message or I see this posting on how um, the minister at that church had gotten a plaque from Greg Rickford for retirement. And it shouldn't have angered me as much as it did, but it did. Because here I was asking for help and for a meeting with this person. And and the minister was meeting with him and they knew what I was going through to a certain extent. I mean, they didn't know all the details, but they knew to a certain extent what I was going through. And I don't I don't think it like it they could have talked to him about this. They could have asked for a meeting or whatever. They chose not to. And you know, it's really nice that Greg Rickford has time to present retirement plaques and cut ribbons and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, any trained monkey can do that. We need a leader, somebody who will actually listen to people's problems and actually take an interest in the community members. Um, I don't feel that he is doing that. I see postings all the time on him going to like charity events and stuff like that. But what is he actually doing there that his presence is required? Is he showing up and going, "Hey, look what I did. I threw money at these people." Again, any trained monkey can do that. What we need is somebody who can take issues, take problems, analyze them and try to find a solution. And in order to do that, you need to actually meet with people and actually hear them out, which I don't think he is doing. At least he hasn't done it with me. He actually showed up at my door during the campaign and in front of a friend of mine promised me that he would meet with me for coffee and he did not do that. I have tried to set up meetings. I've called him and that and he just has ignored my calls. And we'll go into that more and I'll show you some of the emails back and forth from his office in the next few videos. Um, but it was getting back to the meeting with my friend. Um, after after meeting with him, um, I dropped him off at the church and I sat outside. He went inside and I sat outside there for a minute and I'm like, should I or shouldn't I? And And I'm like, no, you know what? These people weren't there for me. I'm done. I am 110% done. And um, it goes back to my New Year's resolution, like if if I'm not getting out anything out of the time that I feel I'm spending and effort I'm putting in, why should I? You know, and that might be a really, really bad attitude to take, especially with church, but eh, I don't feel the churches in Kenora are um are about doing God's work, to be honest. I think that they're more clicks and social status as opposed to actually doing God's work. And I mean, we live in a community that is riddled with homeless people, and I used to volunteer at the fellowship every once in a while. Actually, I even did picked up a few shifts there. And for all those who are watching that aren't too familiar with Kenora, the Fellowship Center is basically uh, it's a place where they can go and rest and have a meal if they need. Um, but and possibly get some resources. But it was interesting. Like when I was there, I think I only saw one, maybe two people from the church actually there, and every once in a while, somebody else would like come in um, and I'd find out they'd be from another church in the area, which is great. But it really struck me as kind of odd because with such a high need in the community, and maybe people contribute in other ways, I don't know, but it really spoke volumes about how disconnected and disengaged the community is as a whole. Meanwhile, there are so many churches in this area. Like for a small town, there are so many churches, and I mean different denominations and everything, but still. And when you're looking at it, like different denominations, but still the same Bible, right? And so still the same teachings, still the same words, maybe slightly different interpretations. I don't know. But it was it was kind of an eye opener for me when I was going through all this, that you know, hearing those words, I'll pray on it. I looked at this person and I'm just like, okay, I will accept that because I can't force the issue, and I'm hoping that whatever she's seeking she finds so that she can help me. And and the thing is that if Greg Rickford had gotten involved, chances are the thing with the college probably wouldn't have happened, because he probably could have made a phone call or two and tried to help me with the situation. But that didn't happen. Anyways, so now um so I just ended up driving away and coming home and making my phone calls, and that was my night. So uh I guess I guess I will continue on with this tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow I'm a little bit more prepared. I'm actually going to Winnipeg tomorrow, and it just a day trip. I have some running around I have to do, and stuff. So I'll be taking care of a few things, but um, I suppose the message I want to leave everybody with tonight is if you see somebody that needs help and you're no, you know what? I'm not going to say anything right now because um I'll probably end up saying it wrong or saying the wrong thing, but yeah, I'm just going to say good night. You guys have a good night and talk to you tomorrow.